What's going on, guys? The Comics Kid 2099 here. Welcome to day 236 of the 365-day graphic novel review challenge. Today, I want to talk to you about Dr. Spector, Man of the Occult. This is a 4-issue miniseries from Gold Key and Dynamite by Mark Waid, Neil Edwards, and Roberto Castro. I talked yesterday about Magnus Robot Fighter and how that character, as well as Dr. Solar and Turok Dinosaur Hunter, how they all originated from the comic book company Gold Key in the 1960s. I was always aware of those three characters and how they intertangled and were meshed into the Valiant universe of the 1990s, and then later they were separated from the Valiant universe, and they've gone through a couple of reboots since then. I was never aware of Dr. Spector. I had no idea that this character existed until I bought this book around the same time that I bought that Magnus Robot Fighter book that I talked about yesterday. The premise of this book is that Dr. Spector is a TV occultist. He's basically kind of like Steve Irwin the Crocodile Hunter from the 90s. He goes on TV and he does these things, like in the first issue, he fights a vampire and kills a vampire, and then he makes a TV show doing that. He is filthy rich, and he is not a fake. He actually does do this stuff for real, but he is trying to make it a little bit more televisual, I guess you could say, than what it actually is. He's trying to make it more appealing to the masses by putting it on his TV show and kind of putting a little bit more of a flair for the dramatic into it, I guess you could say. And the premise of this book, I am definitely going to have to spoil this book in order to talk about this book in any way, but the premise of this book, so if you don't want spoilers for this book, go ahead and turn your video off right now, giving you plenty of warning. The premise here is that Dr. Spector finds out that he is not in the real world, that he is actually a remnant from another universe, and that once upon a time, he joined forces with Magnus Robot Fighter, Turok Son of Stone, a version of Dr. Solar who is a woman, and I don't know if it's the same one that I talked about a few months ago. I did a review of a Dr. Solar book, which I believe was from the Dark Horse reboot, or it might have been from the Gold Key reboot. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure it is that version of Dr. Solar that I talked about a few months ago, as well as some other characters that I'm not familiar with. This psychic who is in this book, she's part of that group also. Basically, Dr. Spector was part of this group. They were kind of like the Avengers. They fought this really evil demon guy, and then this really evil demon guy was going to destroy the world unless Dr. Spector put himself in his own little reality and then erased all of his memories of his previous reality. So in this book, he has no memories of Magnus Robot Fighter or Solar Man of the Atom or Turok Son of Stone. He doesn't remember those guys, but he's getting flashes of something that he knows is real, but he can't put a finger on what exactly it is. This book is really weird. I really wish that we could have had 1 or 2 volumes getting to know Dr. Spector and his world before we find out that his world is not real and he actually is a member of the Gold Key Avengers, or whatever this team is calling itself. I really wish that we could have had 1 or 2 volumes of him fighting these mystical threats on his TV show and getting to know him, getting to know his assistant Abby. Maybe Abby is getting to see the ghost of her former boss who dies in the first or second issue. She's getting information from the ghost, and then she's doing stuff through the ghost. I wish we could have had a couple of volumes of that before we got what we got here, where we find out that none of this is real and that Dr. Spector is actually from a previous reality. This feels like something that would be really awesome for somebody who is aware of the character of Dr. Spector. But like I said already, out of all of the characters from Gold Key, Dr. Spector is the one I'm least familiar with. I know more about Magnus Robot Fighter and Turok Son of Stone and Dr. Solar. I know about those characters. I don't know hardly anything about Dr. Spector, and this book gives us 1 issue to get to know this guy, where we get to see what his life is like on a daily basis, and then starting in issue 2, we're throwing him into the status quo break. Every story begins with a break in the status quo, and this one begins by telling us that this world is not real. And I really wish that we could have gotten to know Dr. Spector and his world before we find out that he needs to go and team up with Magnus and Turok and Dr. Solar to save the universe once again. All of the other Gold Key slash Dark Horse relaunches of these characters, they first and foremost were trying to set up that character in their own ongoing stories. The Dr. Silver book I talked about, she had her own supporting cast, her brother, her father, she had relationships with her brother and father, and then these aliens who were trying to kill her because she was the new Dr. Silver. The Magnus Robot Fighter book I talked about, there was a history to that world with the Q robots and Magnus and how he will fight some robots, but he also wants to protect them from humans who are trying to kill and persecute these robots. These characters had their own setting and they had their own stories that these creators were trying to tell. And I don't feel like Mark Waid had that with Dr. Spector. I think that he was mostly just trying to connect this character to all these other characters, and that was his first and foremost goal, instead of trying to tell a story with Dr. Spector. I would have been really interested in seeing stories about this TV occultist guy killing vampires on TV, and he's a little bit arrogant, but at the same time, he's a little bit sympathetic because he has this woman that he's trying to get in touch with, and he doesn't know anything about her. I really would have been interested in reading more about that guy, but unfortunately, this feels like we're reading a setup to the big Gold Key superhero universe crossover book, and I can read the Gold Key Superhero Universe crossover book without needing a setup in the form of Dr. Spector. And then at the end of this book, we find out that Abby is a character named Lakota Rainflower or something like that. And they treat that like a big reveal. I have no idea who Lakota Rainflower is, and that shouldn't be a big reveal. If I don't even know anything about Dr. Spector, you can't expect me to know anything about Lakota Rainflower. So that acts like it's a big whoa moment, but I have no idea who Lakota is, so it was just kind of a meh moment for me. But like I said, spoilers all around in this video. That's about all that I have to say about this book. I don't like this book, unfortunately. I wanted to. After the first issue, I was hooked, and then after the first issue, they kind of went in this completely other different direction that just did not work for me. So those are my thoughts on Dr. Spector, Man of the Occult. I hope that you guys liked this video, and if you did, be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe, and I will be back tomorrow with a different video. In the meantime, you guys have a great rest of the day. Catch you later.